Hello there, welcome to another video. This one's on the music video Old Town Road, and we're going to look at the topics of media language, which includes genre and narrative. Now, in a way, all those things are linked together, and it would be lovely if I could do a video where I said, right, this is media language and this is narrative. Everything will merge into each other as we go, and I'm sorry about that in advance. Okay, let's start with media language right at the beginning. The video opens up with a letterbox style opening, which is very reminiscent of cinema, and that's followed up by the titles then that come up on the screen. Now, the use of that, I think, is very much to enhance or amplify the importance of the actual video. But it's also a generic convention of music videos now, many of which are doing extended versions of their songs, which includes some sort of acting, and they are amplifying, I suppose, the importance of that through presenting it as though it were a film. So we have Old Town Road comes up. It's sort of Columbia Records presents, and it's the filmic cinematic experience then is enhanced by that start. Okay, I mean, quite clearly we're starting in 1899, and the whole of the video references the Western movie genre, and certainly that opening sort of Western backdrop is very much part of that scene, together with the horse race that happens, and or the horse chase that happens, I should say. And in terms of that, we can't help but notice, obviously, the costume that is being worn. Chris Rock is there with his sheriff's badge, the part of that iconography that establishes hierarchy in terms of the chasing pack. And then we have Lil Nas X, who is presented very much as a fairly poor cowboy. He's worn leathers that he's wearing, the cowboy hat, very much part of the Western costume that you would expect to see in a cowboy and Western film. Of course, that comment on costume can be extended throughout the whole video. Very much the change later on that we have, where Lil Nas X wins the race and changes from his dusky old leathers that were reminiscent of the time of the past, into this sparkling, spangling, multicoloured and fringed top that he wears. It very much signifies the transformation that happens, and this is very much a transformation narrative, isn't it? He goes from that person into this person, and in doing so, of course, becomes accepted, and we'll come on to that a bit later on. We have, of course, within this whole video, the hybridity of two genres, which is the country and western music genre and the hip-hop genre as well. And we can see how this is really reflected later on when he travels to 2019 and is just very much seen as the outsider as he walks down that road. And the media language here is used to great effect, isn't it? In the sense that we have the horses in the middle and the cars on the one side, and I think when we look at the camera angles as well, the camera work when he arrives at this street, and we have a crab shot that pans across in slow motion, really seeing the sort of astonishment that happens as part of the community as they see him. This is a point of view shot. This is what he sees at that point, and very much ostracized, the outsider, the I don't belong, and you know, that is referenced by the sort of people and the sort of looks that they give him at that point. And really, I suppose at this point we can see that the entire narrative is built through his journey. Now, what narrative is this in terms of let's say, Vladimir Prop and his character types? clearly Lil Nas X is the hero, but as we know, a hero has to seek a princess, and in this case Lil Nas X, I think, is some people have said, some of my students says he's seeking money, but actually, and of course he is in a way. The whole song is about him actually trying to achieve fame, fortune, riches, but I think in this video it's very much more about achieving acceptance, and those things perhaps go hand in hand in that way. So the princess that the hero is really trying to achieve, the quest that he's on, is to achieve that acceptance. It doesn't happen at first. It certainly doesn't happen when he's in that street. He does have the race though, doesn't he? And very much the way that the camera, the high angle camera from behind, sees the horse set off and the car set off as well. And we see the past versus the present, which is obviously a Levi Straussian binary opposition that we've got in play here, and it's really important. So we see that that race happen, and the contrast is really quite extreme, isn't it? In the sense that we have Vince Staples. We'll talk about cultural coding in a bit, but we have Vince Staples there in a brilliant white shirt, very much dressed in the normal dress we might see of the black community, the white community, the modern younger community, and we see that against Lil Nas X, and of course the result of that is that he flocks him up in the end. I love that phrase, that he gives him that money, and the money of course enables him, the very next shot after that, it enables him to go to the clothes shop and to wear the costume. It's a really interesting shot when he comes out of that clothes shop and wears this transformative jacket that he has, and because it's a multicolour jacket, he has a multicolour background, so he's already just visually fitting in, I think, to that particular shot, which I think is quite important. But nevertheless, that quest that he's on, that narrative quest, he doesn't achieve it. Of course, he's got Billy Ray Cyrus, who picks him up in the Maserati and takes him to the bingo hall, where they open the door and there's that tumbleweed moment, isn't there, where they look at him and yet again he's the outsider. Now we can argue why that is. It's very much a white community, the bingo hall at that point, apart from the bingo caller herself, who is serving the white community in that sense. The door's open, no one knows what to think. There's that comedic moment where bingo's announced, and I think it then needs Billy Ray Cyrus to start playing his music. Of course, Billy Ray Cyrus, famous country and western singer, and you know, he then, and let's express that in terms of property and characters. He is the donor that gives Lil Nas X the little something he needs in order to actually achieve his princess, which is acceptance, and he absolutely achieves that. That final shot of the more elderly blonde lady looking up at him in some sort of heroic gaze that she has is proof enough, in terms of media language, is proof enough that he achieves that acceptance at the end that he's been craving. And we might trace that all the way back to the beginning, where he's being shot at, isn't he? He's an outsider, and he actually says to Billy Ray in that the 1899 scene when they're outside the wooden hut, that they don't take kindly to outsiders. That and so we can see this whole video as a journey, in a way, for Lil Nas X to actually achieve that acceptance that he craves. Now, of course, contextually, we need to refer to the fact that the Billboard country charts have rejected his song, and that, I think, weaves into where we're at. We need to remember that it was already rejected by Billboard when Columbia moved in and Lil Nas X was taken on board, and the video itself came almost after the success of the initial success anyway of the song itself, and so we do have some cultural coding, Barthes would say, some cultural knowledge required to really access some of the deeper layers that are evident within this piece. So some other aspects in terms of the media language that's present. We have a large amount of direct address, close-up shots of Lil Nas X staring to the camera, making that connection with the audience. And certainly Andrew Goodwin, the media theorist that looks at music videos, would say that concentration on the personality of the star is really important for the record company. They want to establish Lil Nas X as a star, and that connection is really seen through that direct address. We have wide-angle shots to show the line dancing, and overhead shots really to add that visual interest, I think, in terms of the race itself, and when the Maserati comes as well to pick him up when he's actually changed into his new clothes. We ought to note that as part of media language there are lots of, I've already mentioned cultural coding, I suppose another name for it is intertextuality in that sense, isn't it? We have a large number of stars, including Billy Ray Cyrus, that really was nothing to do with the song itself until Columbia became involved. But we've also got Vince Staples, Young Keo, we've got Rico Nasty, Diplo, Ha Ha Harris. These guys were all brought in as part of that, and I'm sure Lil Nas can believe his good fortune to be able to work with people, some of whom he thought very highly of and knew very well. And this referential coding, as Barthes called it, I call it cultural coding, but referential coding, where we refer to things that we hope that the audience pick up upon, deepen that layers of understanding. Doesn't mean that if we don't know who they are, then we can't access the meaning of the video. Of course we can, but I think then we always talk about layers of meaning, really, and I think that's important to understand. And that includes little references, doesn't it? Like when the guy handing in the money, it's actually Vince Staples, isn't it, that says, you're from Compton, aren't you? And here we're referencing the Compton Cowboys, the Guinness ad, where they're actually on horses and celebrating the power of the horse, and so little Easter eggs, we might call them, they add to that level of meaning, I think, and are almost a wink, certainly a postmodern wink, an irony about that fits in really well, I think, with the whole tone of the video, which it does deal with some serious issues about outsiders, but it does it in a comedic way. You can't have Chris Rock going boobity 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 without actually having some deliberate comedic impact. I mean, we've got to remember the background to this song is very much a TikTok meme, isn't it? Where it was done for laughs, and I think it was very much tapping into that aspect of things as well. Perhaps we can say a word or two about genre. We've already mentioned right at the beginning in terms of the cinematic style is part of the generic conventions. But we also have the idea that there are elements of country and elements of hip-hop. The country elements, certainly in terms of course, the iconography, some of the rhinestone jackets that you have are over the top and almost playfully acknowledging the country agenda. But there are also the story, the narrative element to that, which is very much a country theme. The rags to riches, I think, is very much a drawing on the sort of stories that are told in country music. The line dancing that happens, so the dancing, the performative element that happens, especially in the bingo hall, is really an important aspect, I think, of country music videos. But in terms of hip-hop videos, the emphasis on bright, shiny cars are really there to be made, I think, and as a nod towards that, we see both Billy Ray and Lil Nas X wearing dark sunglasses, and certainly if we look at enough hip-hop videos, we see that that's certainly almost like a trope, I suppose, of that type of video. And we see an amount of bling as well. So Lil Nas at the end holding up his diamonds, and certainly I think the focus on money is very much part of that, and wealth is part of the hip hop generic convention that we might expect to see in a video for that. I suppose the other thing to say is that initially he is a lawbreaker. He's running away from the police, and certainly that aspect tends to weave itself into hip-hop music videos over time. This is just a short intro into some of the aspects, I think, in terms of media language. I suppose the other one to say is that it's shot in mostly high-key lighting, which is absolutely appropriate for a light-hearted music video, and apart from one scene where we're an internal shot where we're inside with the young girl at the beginning, and there's a sense of threat, and that in a way is manipulated through the use of low-key lighting at that point, deep shadows, as they feel a threat from these outsiders that are arriving at their remote ranch. I think that's about it really, in terms of media language, genre, and narrative. I suppose in terms of genre, what we could talk about is obviously our friend Steve Neal, referring to the fact that there are many repeated aspects of the genre that we might see here, but obviously we've got a greater point of difference, and actually that point of difference, of course, is the hybridity of bringing two distinct musical genres and music video genres together at that point. And we know what a success that was, whereas actually we know that hybridity sometimes doesn't achieve success because it alienates fans of perhaps the two genres that are being put together at that point. Okay, so I think that's probably enough for this video, and I'll try and put one together on the issue of representation at another point.